Alrighty, we've reached NFL Week 6, and I'm here to do the picks once again. And I honestly think, in my opinion, this is one of the more predictable weeks in the NFL slate that we're going to see. Now, I do say that now, but with the NFL, sometimes who knows? But in my honest opinion, I think this is one of the more predictable weeks. That's just the way that I've seen it, the way that it's shaken up. There are 4 teams on a bye once again. We have the Kansas City Chiefs, the Rams, Miami Dolphins, and the Minnesota Vikings, 2 of the undefeated teams, both on byes in Kansas City and Minnesota. But I think it's an interesting week, and we're going to start with probably the second best Thursday night football game yet, although the one last week was an incredible game on the field. But on paper here, I think this is one of the better ones, and you have the 49ers who are kind of reeling right now and the Seattle Seahawks. And this is a great Thursday night matchup, in-division game. I think it's a big one for the 49ers. I think it's a game that they got to kind of capture at this point. Haven't been looking great. There are some injuries. Without Christian McCaffrey, they've been kind of rough. Seattle is a team that started off really hot, kind of has cooled down a little bit. I'm going to take the 49ers, but I think it's going to be incredibly close. 21-20 49ers. I think Seattle's in there the whole game. I think that there's a world where Seattle could win, but I just think the 49ers find a way to get it done. Next up, we go to the 9:30 a.m. kick, another London game once again, and it's going to be the Jags, who are known for going to London, always go to London, it seems like, and the Chicago Bears, who are actually looking pretty good. Caleb Williams had a huge bounce-back week against the Carolina Panthers. I thought it was a really good performance from them. DJ Moore kind of finally had that big game that I thought he would have throughout the years, and I'm going to take the Bears in this. I'm going to take them 34-24. I think that Trevor Lawrence played a good game last week, but we got to remember that they were 0-4 going into that previous game. They're 1-4 now. The Bears are looking better than they've looked in the past. Give me the Chicago Bears 34-24. Next up, we go to the Sunday slate of 1 o'clock games. We have the Browns and the Eagles. The Browns just look like a complete dumpster fire. A lot of things going on wrong there. It looks like the receivers have quit on Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson not correlating well with Kevin Stefanski. A lot of a mess going on there. Eagles have that run attack with Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts. They have a little bit of a situation going on with the head coach and the quarterback, but still, it's not going to be that big of a situation where they can't beat the Browns. Give me the Eagles 24-10. I think it's a landslide. Browns are looking really poor at this point into the season. Next up, we have Arizona versus the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay coming off a victory that they got narrowly, and Arizona is as well against the 49ers. And I think in this one, it's going to be a really close game. I think you could pinpoint this either way. And I think by the end of it, the Green Bay Packers will win this one 27-24, in my opinion. I think that's where it goes from here. Going to be a close game. You have Marvin Harrison Jr. on one side, who has been having some big games, but Kyler Murray has really been the catalyst for that team for a while now. And I think that it's going to be just a battle, but at the end of the day, I think the Green Bay Packers find a way to get the job done, get the win 27-24. Next up, you have the Indianapolis Colts versus the Tennessee Titans. It's kind of a battle of 2 teams where you don't really know what's going on. I think Indiana wins at 21-17. I like the quarterback play better. Joe Flacco has had, I think he had 300 yards in both the games. He's played really well. I think that it just makes more sense in this statement for Indiana to win this game. 21-17 is what I think it'll be. Going on to the next game, you have the Houston Texans coming off the win against the Buffalo Bills versus the New England Patriots, who are continuing to look kind of worse and worse. And they did say they would start Drake May in this game. I think that he's not going to win this game, though. Give me Houston 30-21. This is a game where I just have to take Houston at this point. I think they have a lot of good intangibles to beat them. And also New England, they're starting to look like the team that I thought they were at the beginning of the year, where it's just kind of rough, not looking too great. And we'll see how Drake May does out there. Next up, you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the New Orleans Saints. And this is one where the Saints might be without Derek Carr. And if the Saints are without Derek Carr, they can't win, in my opinion. And I'm just going to assume they're without him because he walked out of that game kind of gruesomely In Tampa Bay, I like what Baker's been doing. They probably should have won that Thursday night football game against the Falcons. Obviously, there's a few fumbles that happen, a holding call that holds them back from winning that game. But give me Tampa Bay 24-16. I think they cover the spread pretty easily in this one. And this is a tale for New Orleans. They had a similar start last year, not as strong as this one, but that's going to be another straight loss for them if they lose, and I think they will. Next up, we have what I think is the game of the week, in my opinion. That's just, in my opinion, what I think. You have Jaden Daniels versus Lamar Jackson, Baltimore versus Washington, Ravens versus Commanders. I think that's going to be a great game from start to finish. I have Baltimore with the edge just because of the experience with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's record against the NFC is ridiculous. I think he's only lost like 1 or 2 games all time to the NFC, which is crazy. And I'm going to take Baltimore 30-27, but I think it's a battle. I think it's a battle all the way around. The Commanders are playing really good football. Really, really good football. And I think we're going to see it to the test in this one. But yeah, it's one that I'm definitely excited to see. Next up, we have the Chargers versus the Broncos. Kind of an underrated, like super sneaky matchup that could be really good, I think, in my opinion. I am going to take Denver. I think Denver looked really good last week. I think Bo Nix and Sean Payton. I just figured that Sean Payton, wherever he was going to go, was going to work. And I think Bo Nix actually has pretty good qualities. I thought that he would be a pretty big hit as a quarterback. He's got Sean Payton. It just made sense to me. Sean Payton, more of an offensive-minded guy. And I think Denver wins this 17-14. I think it's a close game, but I have to give this to Denver in this one. Next up, we have the Raiders and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh coming off kind of a tough loss where their offense looks super dormant against the Cowboys. And I think they pull out a victory here. The Raiders with Minshew, they're not the best team in the NFL. They're not even a contender in my mind. And I just think that the Pittsburgh Steelers find a way to win it, but it's ugly. Like the games they win. Russell Wilson could play this game. Who knows? There's been no determination on that yet. But yeah, I think Pittsburgh wins this 19-16. I think it's just a bit of a slugfest, probably an ugly win. Pittsburgh's going to win gross like they usually do. Next up, we go to a game that's also really interesting. You have Detroit versus the Dallas Cowboys. And Dallas, I don't think they're that great of a team without Micah Parsons on the defensive side. Like, they were able to beat the Steelers, but the Steelers had a lot of problems on offense that game. I don't see them winning this game against Detroit. I like how Detroit's played recently. Give me Detroit 24-17. We'll see. I've been wrong before, but I think Detroit may even win this game by more than 7, but I'll put it as a 7-point game. Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons coming off their big win versus the Carolina Panthers. And I think this is a game where Atlanta dominates probably through and through. I think Kirk Cousins is really starting to find his connection with these receivers. Kyle Pitts having a better game. Drake London having really good games. And I think they win 28-14 in my opinion. I think that Atlanta, they are going to be a problem in the NFC playoffs in my opinion. Then we go to Sunday Night Football. We have the Cincinnati Bengals coming off that really tough loss against the Ravens versus the New York Giants, who actually looked really good against Seattle. Daniel Jones, he's looked pretty decent in my opinion. And he's looked decent to the point where I think this is a very close game, but I'm going to give it to Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati is still a good, solid team. They have a really great offense. Their defense obviously has been abysmal. We know that, but I think they get it done against the Giants. I think it's a good matchup for the Bengals. I'm going to take them in this 24-21. I think they find a way to get it done, and they improve to 2-4. And then from there, we'll see. We'll see where it goes for them. And I certainly don't think they're out of the playoff race yet, and we'll see. But is there a world where the Giants could win this? Maybe, but I just don't see it. But like I said, I didn't think they were beating Seattle either, so we'll see. Then we go on to Monday Night Football, what is at this point become a huge game. It's going to be must-watch, in my opinion. Robert Saleh, the head coach of the Jets, fired today. And I thought that was honestly pretty a shocking move because his side of the ball has been fine. The defensively, they've been really well. It's been offense and Aaron Rodgers that have been the problem. So we'll see. But from what I've known in the past is teams that fire their coach and come in with the interim head coach usually play with a lot of fire, usually are able to get like a few wins, rattle off a few. They come in like pumped. It's like a new regime. So I will give it to the Jets. I don't think it was the right decision for them to fire Saleh, but I do think they still win this game just from history. Give me them 21-18 over the Buffalo Bills, who Josh Allen, he's been hit or miss in some of these games. They always look really great in September, and then they kind of start to fade, and then they come back again. So we'll see, but that's my slate for this week. I'll be back for week 7.